I never knew Zadie. Well, he died in 19...
The only thing I know that Zadie was on the, he was at the farm because there are pictures of him there, and he was crying. My mother reported this to me, and she said she was always, you know, he had tears in his eyes because she was spoon feeding him at the time. He had had a stroke. And so whatever age he was, 68, 9, whatever, he...
I just turned the camera on, so I don't know who you're talking about.
Okay, we're talking about the Harry Lubchansky, the rabbi, the reverend, who was the head of the family, and his wife Minnesota. Okay, and we were trying to figure out exactly where he was, you know, when he came to Clarksdale. And you had reported that he didn't really come to Clarksdale first. He came.
I was told that he went to Greenville. Then they had the fever, and they left Greenville and went to Clarksdale. And then he was the first Orthodox rabbi there.
Which is where he was, which is where Uncle Herman and Dad, Jack Lubin, were born in Clarksdale, Mississippi. And Aunt Gert was born in Clarksdale too? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
So they were in Clarksdale for a while.
Yes.
What year was Aunt Gert born?
Oh gosh.
She was...
Dad was born in
Mother was born in 1914, and your mother was about 4 or 5 years
Well,
older.
Dad was born in 1911.
Okay, my dad was born in 1911. Did they? I mean, that was later.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
because
Yeah, but his mother...
Aunt Gert must have been born in 1909, maybe? Was she 3 years older or 10? I don't know. Betsy may know.
Yes.
10 years.
Do you know when was Aunt Gert born?
It'd be at least 1910 or 1911.
But in
I
any way...
don't know if she was
She
2
was,
years.
she was
But
something
when
like 11
they
or 12
came,
years younger than
apparently,
Dad.
Andy,
We don't know exactly when he was there.
Andy, didn't you report last night?
And Aunt Millie's
Betsy
here.
reported that
Oh,
they came
Millie's here.
over. They brought the boys over.
We'd like for you to be able to talk about some of your memories on camera. You don't think so? Well, I'll tell you, they're talking about all sorts of wonderful places and things that you remember that we don't. So, at least come and sit with me.
Yeah, come sit.
And it'll be fun. Hi, Moses.
University of Iowa.
School, but couldn't afford it, so some of the pharmacy
Exactly. Absolutely. Well, she actually didn't go with the University of Iowa. She ended up going to the Women's College of Pennsylvania.
That anybody that was related, we all went to Pine Bluff to get our clothes. I mean, that's just what you did.
We did.
And then and Uncle Maury was a very everybody in our family was very generous to everybody. You know, Uncle Herman, we would go to his drugstore on Sunday and always have banana split. If we needed shaving cream, deodorant, toothpaste, whatever we needed, we would just go in there and get it and then walk out. And then Uncle Maury's store was basically the same, but I'm sure our parents would pay.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I bet they didn't. I bet that Uncle Maury and Aunt Gert often didn't give them that much.
on the back of the shirts of the onesie, they would have them sewn together. Can't have that done anymore.
Yeah.
So that it would always iron perfectly.
Speaking of clothing, everybody was fastidious in our family. I cannot remember anybody not being fastidious. And if
What's that word?
That means you have to be very fast
Oh, okay.
with your cities. But anyway, everybody was always so neat and clean and pretty and goodness gracious. You would have thought we were walking ads, but Uncle Maury told us we were all walking ads for him. So we always had to be very, very neat.
Tell us about growing up on Turtle.
And Turl? Well, Turl was kind of like the old West. It was I mean, it was a small town, and everybody knew everybody. And like when I was a kid, would go into a store, and you never paid for anything. I'm sure it's the same way in Pine Bluff. You'd walk into a store, you'd get what you want, like a sandwich or a Coke, and they'd put it on a ticket, and you walked out, and you left. You know, you go into the restaurant, so I'm sure y'all did the same thing in Pine Bluff. You'd order lunch, and nobody would charge you for it. I mean, they'd just give it to your daddy, you know, make a ticket.
It's probably because your dad was taking care of the medical.
I think that's how the country stores were. Because when I went to California, Aunt Millie might remember, she took me to a grocery store. And I was about, I don't know, 12 years old. And I walked in and got a candy bar and got a Coke and opened it up and walked out of the store. And they got me for shoplifting. and Aunt Millie.
Do you remember all that? You were educating all of us. You gave us all a great opportunity to feel like we were in heaven out there.
And Aunt Millie, when I left Turl and went to California to visit Aunt Millie, the first thing she did when Leonard and I rode out there on a bus. It took us 3 days, and that's a terrible story, riding to California on a bus. I told Daddy that I wasn't coming home unless I came on an airplane, and Aunt Helen made Leonard ride back on a bus. But the first thing Aunt Millie did was she looked at me and Leonard, and I don't remember what she got Leonard, but I know exactly what she bought me: a pair of tennis shoes that were webbed, and they were white, a pair of white pants, and a belt, and a white kind of a flowery shirt. And she
You were hip.
She had me all in style with everything. Well, everybody loved going out and staying with Aunt Millie. In fact, you were out there for
Jan's bat mitzvah. I had a choice. My mom and dad said you can have your own bat mitzvah in Topeka, Kansas, and I thought, stay in Topeka for the whole summer and have to write thank you notes, or go to California for a month with you and Uncle Joey and all of our cousins. That was wonderful. Hay rides and all sorts of things that I had never done, and I remember Aunt Carol Levine actually gave me permission to take off my socks. I was still wearing socks with my shoes at age 12 or age 13. So thank God for Aunt Carol. She was my liberator in so many ways. So.
Talking with Joey, who said he had a little boat that he would take you to sea, which of course I said, this is an ocean-going yacht. It was so big. And then in their house, Norman had a bear. I don't know if you remember this, hanging over his bed, because he said he liked to wake up every morning and see this big bear.
I think he still has that bear.
Does he?
I think so.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, I remember Aunt Millie going to the grocery store and taking a wagon full of unbelievable amounts of food and taking it down the ramp at the yacht club, Aunt Millie. And do you remember the yacht club and going on the boat and entertaining all the time? And it was just wonderful.
And she made the very best salmon roll-ups.
Oh, I remember
salmon
those.
roll-up. Oh, that was the most gourmet dinner I had ever had, and it was all done by Aunt Millie on the boat, on her yacht, actually.
On the yacht.
On the yacht.
That's
exactly.
right.
You remember that? Sure, she does.
You know, Aunt Millie and Uncle Joey were kind of our movie star relatives. You know.
Absolutely.
But speaking of all the people that used to cook and pass their recipes down to others that would watch them, we had a lot of good cooks in our family. Andy, you need to come back in for this one because your mother was one of the best. She was gourmet. Yeah, Aunt Belle was really a fine cook. She cooked everything from scratch. Of course, we're talking about someone who raised children beginning in 1914 on. And I'm not even sure whether there were exactly, I know there were wood burning refrigerators and wood burning ovens and ice with ice, big ice in there. I can remember those very old things. But she had all the modern conveniences and still did everything from scratch. And thank God everybody has been passed on with the same
Aunt Helen always
ability.
cooked, or she has somebody.
No,
cook.
Aunt Helen did not
Geneva,
boil water, nor did
Geneva was the
Aunt
cook.
She had Geneva.
Neither of them boiled. Literally, I don't think they knew how to boil water.
But she had Geneva.
But she always had Geneva,
Right.
and Aunt Gert had. Had food on the table, lovely, but not homemade, or by her, by them. Yeah, Mom was a real gourmet cook, and I've got boxes at home waiting for me to go through with little notes, and one of which is on this big pack of recipes that says, Andy, I know you're going to be tempted to throw this envelope away, but there are some really good recipes in here.
And you need
After
to
I
test
die,
them,
I
and
know
you
you are
test
going to
them.
want to throw this stuff away, but there are some really good recipes. So I've got stacks. I'll put them. I
Well,
just figure it'll be Jill's problem.
Steve's mother also turned into a wonderful
Oh, she was a
cook.
great
She was
baker.
wonderful.
She was a great cook, but a better
Baker. Yeah.
But she wasn't gourmet. She was just a good.
She was
basic
good.
cook.
She was good.
She was very good, yeah.
I remember
And I
that.
have all these recipes too. It's like, I don't know what to do with them.
I know.
The recipes too,
Yeah.
and they are beautiful. The
Yeah.
strudel,
Yeah.
she had the best strudel.
Your
Absolutely.
father, Uncle Jack, I never ever saw him very often, but Uncle Jack gave me a letter from my bar mitzvah. Wrote me a letter when I was 13. You need to talk to your nephew, Justin or Jason. And Uncle Jack sent me a letter to explain everything to me, and I kept that letter for 50 some odd years. And then I think it was at Justin's daughter's bar mitzvah. I showed you the letter, and thinking that Justin was going to take care of it, I gave the letter to Justin and told him to take care of it. And I'd had it for like 50 years, and it was wrote by Uncle Jack. You know, it had
Gorgeous penmanship.
it had Lubin Pharmacy in red on the envelope. I think he might have put it somewhere. I hope that
Maybe
he
it'll
did.
turn
But it was what he was telling me when I was 13 was how important it was to maintain your family, and that if I wanted to do something, make sure that whatever I did would be acceptable, that I wouldn't shame the family. If I wasn't going to shame the family, go ahead, it's probably okay to do. You know, but
So you read the letter one time and you forgot about it?
no,
He kept it though.
I kept
You kept the
literally.
letter, but
I kept this for some reason. I kept this letter. I don't keep a whole lot of stuff. There's one letter, no matter where I went. For 50 years, I always kept this letter with me. And then when Justin's
I'll have to ask him if he knows.
daughter got bar mitzvah, I figured it'd be something special to him, so I gave them the letter.
Maybe they have.
But but anyhow, it was about our whole family was instilled doing things that were right, to be successful at whatever you did, and always do your best, and to help people. We always helped everybody, not just the family, but the whole community. And that's what our family tried to instill into us. And I hope that we can instill that all into, like I
Absolutely.
I have a book at home that I found, written by Emlyn Tunnell, who was a very famous football player years ago, and nationally, where he paid homage to Dad. He said that the result of his going through school was because of Dad. He took him in, he fed him, he got him glasses, and then I came across a program from the University of Iowa where he used to take people in like that, I guess, feed them at the store, and I mean, I never knew about it.
What was so exceptional about our family is that in the community, they had a respect. I mean, even like when I went to Mississippi, I went to all the banks, and no bank would lend me money. I mean, literally wouldn't lend me any money. And there was a guy named Ted Bordosky in Ruleville, Mississippi. And Mr. Ted told me if I ever needed help to come by and see him. The long story short, nobody would lend me any money. Nobody. So I went to Mr. Ted's office, and I said, Mr. Ted, I said, I got to talk to you. And we talked and everything. He said, well, he said, a lot of your kinfolks live up in Memphis. I said, yes. He said, Herman Lubin is your uncle. I said, yes. He said, your family is a good family. He said, you have all intentions of paying the bank back. I said, yes, sir. He said, and you will tell me this on your family's name? I said, yes. He said, okay, tomorrow I'll go back to the bank. Next day, I went back to the bank. He was no longer in the bank. And the president of the bank says, I don't know who the hell you talked to, but I've been told to give you a loan. And it was totally
Based on your family.
on the family.
Can I just reiterate on this family type story? It has been said, and it's also true, I could cross the river, get into Crittenden County going up towards St. Louis. I could get any kind of ticket on the highway, and it would certainly get rescinded. All they had to do was look at my name and say, you related to Milton? Did you related to anybody? And I'd say, yes, sir. My cousin, or sometimes I'd fudge say my uncle. They'd say, slow it down, do right, don't do whatever I was not supposed to be doing, and head on. I said, okay, thank you, sir.
But I think it's interesting when you think back, because I was 5 when Bubby died, and obviously never knew Zadie, but obviously they had these 8 children, and instilled obviously in them what they passed on to our children, grandchildren, and us, and etc.
Where do you think they
it's
got
amazing.
it from? Where do you think Bubby and
You
Zadie
know,
got it?
and I don't know, did Bubby and Zadie, what I'd love to know if they came over, when did they come over? Did they, we don't, does anybody know that, I wonder?
Well, Leonard's got that book.
We discussed that earlier at the Parsons study, and I think it was early 1900s. When
That they came over?
I don't know where you.
No, but the Bubby and Zadie were over
Yes.
here.
Just come down to the
So, did their parents
yeah,
come over?
but just come to the patio. Okay?
No, I
I'm
think
on-
they were
come
the
to the
first.
patio. 'Cause
Your dad was born in Russia. Bubby and Zadie were born in Russia, but did their parents stay in Russia, or did they get over on them?
And did they have siblings?
That's the other thing.
You
Did
know,
Bubby
I
and
have a
Zadie
lot of
any
pictures.
siblings?
The
I think
family
Ari Pope-
pictures, somehow or other, the pictorial history of this family came down from Bubby's to Mama Belle, or Aunt Belle, and then my mother ended up with it in her attic in a cedar chest. So it was all maintained. And at this reunion that we had 11 years ago, I passed out all the pictures that Bertha and I had gone through, and we had designated those pictures that had been continuously sent in America back to Bubby originally. And that's how everybody ended up with some extra pictures that were older pictures. Now, there are a whole lot of pictures, and we didn't know what to do with them, and Bertha called them the Europeans. So I'm not really sure who they are. I tried to get someone to translate some Yiddish, and there's not too many Yiddish speakers. There's a few of them. There's a history.
At UCLA, there was I met a teacher who was teaching Yiddish at UCLA.
Yeah. Well, we do have some pictures. They have been unidentified.
Rabbi Danziger speaks Yiddish.
He does, but this is written without vowels or anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is
Probably a
written.
different thing,
Yeah.
Send them to me and I'll take it to UCLA.
Okay. But at any rate, but I wanted to recall one thing about the whole Lubin family. We were at one of Aunt Helen and Uncle Herman, Steve's brothers, Harold's, one bat mitzvah. I think it was Leah's bat mitzvah. We were there, and you brought your mother up, and your mother was visiting, and some friends from your mother's from Iowa City had come into Chicago for this bat mitzvah. And the lady said, in all honesty, I know what happened to all the Lubin men. What happened to all the Lubin women? And I said, they married and have a different name. And it never dawned on this lady that there could be other people with other names. So thank you to Cousin Nathan for putting everybody's extra names on our new t-shirts, so we all know someone else has Lubin connections, even though the Lubin name isn't there. Thank you.
Milton, do you have anything to say?
No. Mark, do you want to talk about your Steve, you got anything to say? Hey, Stacey.
Aren't you going to tell the story about your dad driving to Iowa City from Memphis with taking naps along the way, but still driving, reading the comics, still driving,
One hand over the back seat reaching for food.
still driving?
Still driving, yes.
I can just tell you it's a trait that's been handed down.
That one was fantastic.
And we tend to all kind of do it, at least amongst my brethren, that's for sure.
Now, Uncle Herman worked until late at night. I would get calls about 11 o'clock at night. I'd wake up and I know it was Uncle Herman calling me to try to discuss things.
Yeah, I can remember working at the store, and I don't remember what year it was, but I guess I was in pre-pharmacy school, and he would be open till 11 o'clock at night, and we finally convinced him to close at 10. But he was always saying, well, these people rush in at 11 o'clock and to get something. We got them to start closing at 10. Those same people who rushed in at 11 were now rushing in at 10.
Well, I remember Mom and Dad always talking to Aunt Helen and Uncle Herman at around midnight. I mean, it was like you'd think it was 10 o'clock in the morning. That's
Right.
just when they. Ethel, you need to come sit down and talk.
Yes, come on.
Come on. Yes, you do about you and your husband. No, come on. Come on,
Yeah.
right here. In Tulsa. in
Come
that
sit down.
group.
If you got over there, I'd get a better shot of you.
I don't
want. Yeah, you
we
did.
just, well, you do. We have some
Go out.
I have some questions to ask.
Something will turn out, huh?
Andy, you should sit down with her. Talk about when you all were in Tulsa.
Did you go back for the photo to the room, or are you okay?
Okay, I'll stand up.
Are you feeling better?
Okay. All right.
Better.
You stay put
I
then.
don't know. I think it's better.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bad timing, huh?
Yeah, bad time. It's always
Never a good
bad
time, huh?
Never.
I remember that last
The only
call.
thing is, it gives me at least a long weekend to recuperate.
Yeah.
Jed, you need to call Rob around the back of your name.
Now, you sure? I need to go to bed. Go out.
No, seriously.
No, I was told actually to go get, I have a heating pad back at the place, and I'll use that this evening when I come back. I was told, that's right, it's not hurting now, when I'm sitting.
Good.
Ethel, tell them about when Mom and Dad would go to Tulsa. Went to Tulsa when Mom and Dad went to
feeling
Tulsa.
Jack.
I remember the last trip too well.
Oh, yeah, the last one.
But Aunt Celia used to come they used to come to Tulsa, right?
Yeah. Well, they came when Jack was sick. Yeah.
At the very last time you're getting, Bob took
He came
his stream
twice,
music
didn't he?
I think they did.
Harold came with him the one time on the plane.
Harold did?
I picked him up at the airport, yeah. And I don't remember how long he was there. And the second time, your mom drove him to the airport, and she came, and she didn't have any clothes or anything. She just decided to come.
And I think they'd taken an ambulance to Tulsa.
They did?
She went right from Gary and Sherry had their wedding, Iowa City after wedding party, and I went back to school in Michigan, and I didn't know it, but they went and got on the plane and went directly.
And she just got on the plane. She didn't have somebody had to send her some clothes and things.
Yeah, I was in Ann Arbor. So
Yeah.
probably, because that's when you passed
I remember
away.
then she stayed with us, and I remember one time Uncle Maury stayed with us. And one time Betsy stayed with us. My kids don't remember any of this.
But I remember you guys in Iowa City.
Yeah, you were little.
I was, but I definitely remember, because I remember, did Craig have an eye patch maybe?
Yeah, yeah. And every time we would come near, Gary would hide under the table or under something. I remember that. Yeah, we had some great meals at your mom's house. Her meals were always like a magazine cover. Everything was on a magazine.
When I was,
I've got some good recipes from her.
Yes,
I still
know
have
I
them.
when I was at Fort Sill, I came to see you guys. So you introduced me to every single Jewish girl that you had in Tulsa.
That was probably
like
Manny.
six of them?
That's probably Manny Papa.
It probably didn't take long in Tulsa. You were at Fort Sill?
After the summer. Yeah,
Wow.
Summer Army camp.
So you were in the Army? Yeah.
For a very short while.
Yeah, I
It
probably.
didn't take.
It didn't take. Well, Harold was in Vietnam. I
Yeah.
remember Harold.
Oh, really? That's right. I remember that.
I remember Harold Lewin. You remember the letters he was writing back to the senators and congressmen and saying, "We don't belong in this war. Please lobby. Please go to Washington and tell everybody this is not where we belong. This is not our fight." Exactly.
But
Exactly.
I think Harold was the only person that we really knew that went to the war and really kind of used the government as a travel agent. It seemed like he was was able to go to Vietnam or whatever he's visiting on his breaks, and I thought this wasn't nearly as bad as it seemed like it might have been. Okay, I'm gonna go.
So Aunt Ethel, what else do you remember? I mean, I do remember that Evie went to work in Tulsa as the secretary to the temple.
That was before we moved there.
I see. Where were you at the time?
He's probably finishing his residency.
Uh-huh.
They need.
Where was Uncle Bob's
In the
residency?
Korean War, they needed doctors.
Yes.
So they drafted him. So he had to go for 2 years.
Yes.
He didn't have to go overseas, but he had to come back and finish.
Yes.
And then we were at the University of Iowa for a year, and then we went to Tulsa. But Evie was already gone by then. I had forgotten she was there.
Yeah. Well, there were not many Jewish men in Iowa City, so there was no question that it was up to Manny and Uncle Ray, and I thought you guys were there.
So they
too at the
trotted
time.
out all the Jewish men.
Yeah, to fix her up. That was their.
Well, how'd she meet
mission.
Shale?
That was how at a Shiva call. She had to go as the secretary of the temple to this family in Tulsa, and it was the Ungermans.
Oh.
So.
And that's where Evie and Shale met?
Was at a Shiva call. So. You should always do what's
meant
right.
to be. That's right. That's right. That's the moral of the story.
Shale had quite a bit of family.
That's
in
awesome.
Tulsa.
Absolutely.
At the time, anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
Bob was so well known as an art
I didn't know that.
That's
Really?
right, Mom.
Huh?
Tell them about who introduced you to Dad.
Epi.
I didn't know
Well,
that.
tell them the story. Tell them the story.
Well, I was a freshman in college.
Well, you were in a sorority house.
Yeah, and
Evie
they
was
were
in the.
fixing everybody up for the very first party because nobody knew anybody. And Epi fixed me up with him.
So you were at the University of Iowa, and
Yeah.
what was the sorority?
Was SDT.
SDT.
Of course it was SDT.
Of course, that was it.
Well,
and she fixed you up, and then that was it. You never.
That was, well, yeah, it was 4 years. He was in medical school. He was just getting out of the Navy. He was in that Navy program where they sent you to school.
Yeah.
And the war ended, and he got out. I don't even think he got a semester out of it from the Army, from the U.S. And then, I met him there. Thanks to your mom.
Did you ever go out with anybody else?
No.
Really?
You had a chance to, I guess. I don't remember.
she was smitten.
It was a long time ago. And he was too busy with medical school to...
So he didn't go out with anybody else. So
No, I'm sure he didn't. Remember how your kids studied? Well, he studied the same way. He studied we could only go out on Saturday night.
Wow.
That was it.
I understand. Well, Evie also fixed up Bob Livingston.
Right, with Phyllis.
With Phyllis.
And that took two.
Well, she was quite the matchmaker.
Yeah, apparently she was pretty good at what she did.
And Mom wore Evie's dress.
Oh, I didn't
I
know
wore her
that.
dress.
And we have a picture of it in our home.
We
I
got married.
love
We
that.
graduated. We got married like right after. There was no time to do anything.
I love
So not
that.
only
Yeah,
did she
Barbie
introduce
dress.
them, but she dressed her for the wedding.
And
How did you end up at the University of Iowa? Where are you from?
I'm from
I missed the
Iowa.
beginning. Oh, you're from Iowa.
Definitely Iowa City.
you could really go to Iowa, Nebraska there.
Did you know Aunt Seal?
Well, no.
Before
Well,
she-
I met
before-
Bob. And then
right.
I met Bob. I met his family.
Right, but she was from Iowa, like also
Yeah.
a different place.
Well, Jackson was
Right.
there, and Andy and
I don't know who
Right.
they are. Well, this is Buddy and Zoe. That I know.
Well, so you moved to Tulsa because the other brothers were there. Is
yeah,
that right?
it seemed like a good place.
You
Yeah.
look at her,
Manny was
and I
there.
can see Laurie.
Yeah.
And my in-laws were in Spain with her.
It's from my mom.
Yeah.
Look at the one. What does it say on the back?
It just says La Shana
It was a
Tova,
good
and I
thing. It
can't
was a
read
good
the
place
rest
for us
of
to
it.
go.
Great place to raise children, apparently.
I thought it was. It worked out okay. Yeah.
You've got quite a legacy here with all these fabulous grandchildren.
Yeah, I have.
Now they're sprinkling all over the place.
They are all over the place.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, they're great.
So
kids.
yeah, I don't know.
I wish they
remember-
could all have come.
I remember Bob was a tennis player,
I think
right?
that's
Yeah, he loved it.
but it, I mean, I don't know. But
And
it's
Jerry,
Irish.
you're still a runner, aren't you?
I quit about 2-3 years ago, and so I do the treadmill and the elliptical.
But you do something.
Yeah, for about an hour a day.
Good
You
for
can't
you.
look like that if you don't
It's
do
hard
something.
to keep it up, you know.
Well, if you fall off a ladder, it's very hard.
So remember last time we were here, you took us to dinner. We're here in a medical meeting. And that's the last time I've seen you.
I don't
You
know.
know, I'm still
I'll ask
taking
Larry.
vitamins that Bob told me to take when we had
I
dinner one
love
night
it.
in
Oh, it's
in
way
Atlanta.
ahead of his time.
At least he spoke with
Anything Bob
authority, so
said.
people believe him.
He was always giving the family
Since
medical
Not sure
advice.
how
Since
right
you're
he
from
was.
Iowa City, do you recognize these people?
Steve found some pictures and didn't know who they are.
You did it.
No, no,
You got it.
I
I
don't
can't.
know.
I can't figure it out.
I think that might be Zadie, but I don't know who the women are.
I don't either. I wonder who you could ask. Sometimes it's too bad there's nobody left to
Look at
ask.
Bonnie
You know?
over here. Is Bonnie been over?
Has Bonnie
She's
been
right here.
Sad.
It's, yeah,
Bonnie, maybe you'll know these people.
I doubt it. She wouldn't.
Probably not.
I'm just wondering who you could ask.
I have no idea. It's a great picture, though. Wow.
You know,
See,
people
this
just
is-
write on the back.
Yeah.
But who thinks about it
See,
at
this
the
is
time?
Bubby and Zadie. This is Bubby and Zadie.
You know, I don't even know pictures of myself anymore. I say, who's that old
Ethel,
guy?
turn that around, okay?
Yeah, because that looks kind of like the big picture that you had.
Yeah.
Can you tilt it
Did
so
you
I
look
can
at the
see
pictures
it?
I gave your sister?
That's about as close as I can get.
Look, make her give you.
Yeah, if you can move it closer.
Did she put them on
Let me show it to the
that
camera.
list that we all have?
I don't know because I just gave them to her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll look.
And lower, lower, lower. Okay, wait till it focuses in. Hold on.
No, but the problem is I have to find the other one. It's really hard to face the mother with just one ship.
Do you think
hold
like
on.
Gail
It's
looks
coming
kind of
in.
like her?
That's not a problem.
Who would I ask? Not you.
Yes. Got it.
Do you think Gail looks kind of like her?
Here you go, Mom.
His picture?
You know my grandmother, Bill?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, there's a new face.
Absolutely.
There's Nathan.
When I was ready to take a bath, they put a wash tub out on the back
On the back porch.
and filled it up with water. I felt so embarrassed. Because you're sitting right out there. There's nobody but the cows are going to look at you.
You and Nathan.
It's fine.
Yeah, it was fun taking Mom out that day and finding and seeing the place that she grew up at and the outhouse. And, that was interesting.
Yeah.
And I
that
have no
in
idea.
Cordova?
Yeah. It is. Yeah. And I don't know where it is now. I've been there once, but that was years ago when we went. But it was an antique store.
It's still in Cordova.
It's probably still there.
And the parents of everybody.
Yes, ma'am.
She churned her own butter. She churned it up and down with butter. Going to penny candy once a day.
Only once a day.
Y'all would drive over from Pine Bluff?
Yeah. Yeah, we stayed there. Mother would come over and see it down the
When Mom and Aunt Frida and Aunt Marshall in high school, They were living in Cordova, but Mom Bell and Daddy Will rented them an apartment in the city so they could date.
I got it, Frank.
In the country, there was just the shots, and they had to date Jewish men in the city, so she was raised very progressively.
We always had good memories of going to Pine Bluff, going to the store, doing our shopping.
Today.
I had great memories of going to your
Yeah,
farm.
it was so much better.
When I was in
Yeah,
Israel last time, your sister